think of what I want my first one to be. So eventually.
And so as you come back to your clients, are you scanning the market? Is there a role for live streaming?
Yeah, definitely. For Verizon, actually, we are opening a new store in Santa Monica, and we will be periscoping the live opening of it. And, you know, I, on a personal level, have only messed around with Periscope a few times, but from what I've seen so far, I really love how raw and authentic it is, and I think it's really filling a void now that there's kind of this like social media journalism craze happening, you know, that if you're at a place and something really eventful is happening, you blast it out to your social media on Twitter, you upload vines of it, you know, so I think the way these other platforms were built have created this void that was needed, and now that's being filled by Periscope and Meerkat. So I think as a brand perspective, I think it's really exciting.
Eric, any view on that space? In particular, you're held accountable often for what your influencers do. In the live domain, you have no control, there's no edit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that aspect of things can be a little bit scary from an advertiser's perspective. We deal with people. Some are very professional, some are very new and young, so you don't know what you're going to get. There's a story we're working with a large movie studio, and about 3 hours before a video was supposed to go from an influencer, the influencer was grounded and had his phone taken away. And so, yeah, the first reaction was, I'm going to call his mom. And I called his mom, and I go over the deal, and we have all our lawyers on the phone, we have everyone on the phone, and we're begging her to give the phone back to her son. And she says, I don't care how much you're paying him, this is how he's going to learn his lesson. So we have to jot down a little note in our system and say, okay, talk to the mom from here on forward, make sure he behaves himself before you get into the deal. My point is with Periscope, and the real-time aspect of things, there's a lot less control. I think Periscope and Meerkat as a platform, you have to look at the kind of content that's going to be created. So, you have to schedule your video stream before, or have people tune in while you're doing it. But really, what are you going to schedule? If you're doing something impromptu on the spot, you're at a concert, you're filming a friend goofing off, you're not going to Periscope that you dress in your spot. No one's going to tune in at a given time to see that. So it's really going to be for a lot of educational content, in my opinion. A lot of really needy information is going to be traded on that platform. And I think from a brand perspective, it tends to be better suited for brands looking to kind of co-brand themselves with more industry-focused influencers, as well as brands that are focused on experiential. So brands that have a lot of live events, something interesting to give, will do well with Periscope.
Have you started to see any influencers arising in the live streaming, or are we still too early?
I mean, from our perspective, we're always monitoring new platforms, from Photo to Fuse to Flipagram to Periscope, but it's still very early to say whether it's going to catch and who's going to emerge and how many people are going to emerge. But it looks very promising.
And shifting topic for a moment, are brands better off doing multiple campaigns across many different influencers, or is there merit to building longer-term relationships with a few selected influencers?
That's an awesome question. This is the answer that I hate to give and I hate to get, but it depends. Essentially, if you have an influencer that's very cohesive to your brand, perfectly on brand, yes, they're ideal. They have a large enough following, they generate traffic, they can convert, it's perfect. You have to also think how fast that influencer is growing. If you're looking to scale your brand, likely you want to work with multiple influencers because you're going to reach a limit to scaling with one. Now, ideally, you'll have one sort of keystone influencer acting as the face of your brand, dealing with the positioning of your brand, and really leading your persona as an influencer, you'll grow with them over time. But you're going to want to scale as well because it's a business, and the idea is you got to put $1 in, you get $2 out. So you're going to want to work with a lot of different influencers that fit your image as a brand.
Mariana, have you had any experience yet working multiple times with and really building a relationship there, or has it been more scattered?
Some brands are scattered. There's about 3 or 4 brands I'm working with right now that are between like a year and 6-month deals. So I work with them contracted for like a hair brand for an entire year. So my followers and YouTube viewers really know that I am a fan of this product and that I'm using these products more than just one time. So they repeatedly see them in multiple videos. So they know it's more organic. And then same with beauty brands, because those I use in multiple videos or pictures, so they know that I'm working with them multiple times. So I like long-term brand partnerships because then you get to work with them closely. They know you really well. You guys know how to work together. And then your followers, subscribers, viewers, they kind of know that you associate with this brand, so it doesn't seem so off when you see a sponsored post.
Taria?
Yeah, I definitely think there's a huge value in partnering with influencers in the long term. I think, as a millennial, like I know when I'm being advertised to, and I know when I see an influencer post and then it's like hashtag ad or sponsored, it's like, okay, it's still semi-believable, but kind of not. So I think when you actually partner with an influencer in the long term, your content becomes more authentic and more believable as the partnership goes on. It's like, for example, like Michael Jordan, you will always think Michael Jordan and Nike. And Messi, like you always think Messi and Adidas, so, and those two just go like hand in hand all the time. And so, for example, with Mariana, we have done 2 Verizon partnerships with her, the Bluetooth Jambox and the Mother's Day one. And we now want to partner with her actually for the store opening as well. And, it's our hope as a brand that as we continue to foster this partnership with her, that her audience will start believing in this content further and further down the line.
And a question for Eric. What are the pitfalls of marketing with influencers? There are a lot of brands out there that are moving into this space, having never done it before. Where do they go wrong?
It's the Wild West right now, so there are plenty of opportunities to go wrong. Just jumping into it. Let me see. So I would say the first is really selecting and selection with influencers. We've had brands, we've had a large fashion brand, mainstream fashion brand, right, mid-level. You see their stores in every shopping mall. They were fixated on one female influencer to head their swimwear campaign where they would generate in-store images of that influencer and have the influencer be included in content and their email campaigns on their website. Until we dove a little bit deeper, and 90% of that influencer's following was male, and way off the mean age of what they were looking to target. And it was a pretty big deal that they came to us with and wanted to start. So if we moved forward with that without diving in deeper first, it would have been money well wasted. A second really comes to pricing. When deciding how to deal with influencers, you'll see pricing all over the map. Pricing for the same influencer, for the same types of influencers, it's just everywhere. And you really have to understand the market on a deeper level, treat it like almost like a stock market in some sense. And if you're trying to go about it like, hey, this is how much I want to pay for engagement or per follower, or for this type of content, whether it's fashion or consumer electronics or pet, that's not going to work. What really dictates the market at the end of the day is supply and demand. Those variables go into what decides the demand and how much people are willing to pay. But there's a huge qualitative aspect of that can't be ignored. So you really have to have a good feeling for what the market is paying out on a per influencer basis, and how that influencer sustains their content. An influencer that is very true to their content and continues to put their content first will just increase in value over time and become more and more desirable within a given market.